This is Amud Yomi Gemara in Shabbos Adaf Kov Hey Amud Beis, and we're holding in the bottom of Kov Hey Amud Beis, approximately 7 lines from the bottom. The first one on line is Kira Abanan. We continue by quoting the Mishnah, which we just began in the previous year, the 12th parak over here. Says the Mishnah, if someone makes two bati nirim, my banirim, what does it mean inside these heddles? And of course, these are difficult to understand, these specialized weaving systems, as we don't fully appreciate this without knowing the Metzias. But either way, says the Gemara, Amar Abai Tarti bati nira, it's where the rope is wrapped around 2 times, v'chad benira, and 1 time around the heddle itself. Bakirais, bakirais around mitzuvita heddle frame, which is used for those who weave curtains. V'tevishtei tvirais. Ask the Gemara, Tanina be'avais melachais. 4 lines in the bottom, ask the Gemara, we already learned in the avais melachais. Hatevishtei tvirais. So why does our Mishnah repeat tevishtei tvirais? Answers the Gemara. The Sefer wanted to write one who tears on condition to re-sew 2 stitches. So because it wanted to say the case of someone stitching to re-sew, therefore kataninami atoifer. V'hakairi says the Gemara. But wait, did it actually have to say even that case? Anami tanin above his malachais. Al misham the kavayla mistei seifa kareb chamasay v'almeisai shamachi, because they had to say that case of karean chamasay or meisai shamachi. Therefore, katani hatover shtei tfirais. Therefore, the case of sewing 2 stitches was listed as well. Continue the last line over here. Karean manas litver shtei tfirais. If someone rips on condition to sew 2 tefir, it says the Gemara Heichim Mishkachas laws. We turn over to Kovhei Amud Beis. Says the Gemara on the top line of Kovhei Amud Beis, the Avdi Bekissi, where the garment was a little bit lumpy, and therefore you have to rip it open in order to sew it smooth. And we continue with the Mishnah on Kovhei Amud Beis. Hakareh b'chamasev al meisai, someone who tears in anger, or al meisai, or on his dead. V'cholam l'kalkul, anyone who does something destructively, piturin, kilkul by its very nature is a potter. V'makalkal manas l'takin. If someone destroys in order to fix, shirei kimitakin, the minimum measure is like one who fixes, which is going to have to be the same amount to be sewn is the amount to rip in order to sew. Shir Malabim Menafetz continues the Mishnah on the next Malacha. What is the Shir for Malabim, winding, Menafetz, combing, disentangling, Hatzaveh, Vateveh, dyeing and spinning, Kamali Rechat Hasita Kafel, the width of a double sit, or Yishlechuting Shir Kamali sit. Says the Gemara over Minu. I'll ask you a stira between our Mishnah. The Mishnah begins, and the Mishnah says, the Brisa says, so when tears in anger, or when tears in a state of mourning, or over his dead, chayiv, he is chayiv. And even though he is machal Shabbos, still Yotzidei Kriya. Lamaisa Tzchol Shabbos, you're not allowed to tear on Shabbos, but even still, it's considered doing Kriya on one's mace. So the question is, why does our Mishnah say that you're a potter? Clearly in this brisa it says you're chayiv. Answers Gemara, Lekash Abamesi Day, Abamesi Alma. Says the Gemara, very nice chilik. V'ameisai Katani. But what does the Mishnah say? Meisai, his own relative. Answers the Gemara, Leilam Meisi Day. You're right. That are now within the purview of mourning, one is not mechuyav in mourning them. One only has to have a din of avelos on his shiva craving, the 7 relatives, and this is not one of them. Says the Gemara, but if the person that died is a chacham chiv mechayvi, that indeed there is a chiv the tanya chacham shemis hakol karev of everyone's considered the relative of the chacham. Says the Gemara, kol karev. Really, we're not all relatives. Elema kol karev, meaning what? The role of a chiv avelus. Hakol karev alav. Everyone rips their garments on him. Hakol chaltzin alav. Everyone who rips off the garment of their shoulder, Hakol Marvin Alav Verchava, everyone gives the Suda in the streets. What do we see? We see that for a Chacham, the act, one is a Chayiv to Tir Kriya, and therefore one should, yes, be Chayiv. Why does our Mishnah say that you are Potter? Answers the Gemara, Lo Yitzricha Delav Chacham. Was that a Chacham? The Adam Kasher says, okay, but he's not a Chacham. But even for just an Adam Kasher, we get a glimpse in our Gemara, the level, the Chiyuv, the obligation we have of Avelus for every upstanding Yid. If he's just Adam Kasher, Chiyuv Mechayev, even on him, there's a Chiyuv Avelus. Etanim Isiv. What's the reason why Rachmana Litzlan one can have a child that's nifter at a young age, so that he will be mitavel, he will born an adam kasher. Kedesha yivke. Says the Gemara, Arvuni shakumine. What's going on over here? Person's punished so that he does something. He didn't do anything wrong yet. Says Gemara, you're right. You know what the Brayso meant? Al mimnei shaloi bacha. He did not cry vit abel, and he did not mourn appropriately al adam kasher. That's the reason why this person loses a relative, children when they are young. Rachmana litzlan. Continues the Brayso, so what do we see? We see that even for Adam Kasha, there's yes a chiv avelos. Why would the Mishnah teach us that you're Potter? Says Gemara, Lo tzricha d'lav Adam Kasha. Says Gemara, okay, he's not Adam Kasha. He's not a chacham. But I'll give you another reason that there's a chiv avelos. If you're there at the time of the Yetzias Neshama, Chiyuv Mechayvi, then that itself creates a Chiyuv. The Tanya, Rishim and Lazar, Amir Ibn Al-Meis, Shas Yetzias Neshama, Chayiv Lekraya, all the Mazda, Devon, Sefer Torah Shenisa. For a person dying is a Sefer Torah burning. So you're there, you have to hear Kriya. Says Gemara, you're right, but we're talking about a case, L'Tzricha, you were not there, L'Kai B'Shas Yetzias Neshama. So that's going to be the case in our Mishnah, in which there will be no proper Chiyuv Kriya. Says the Gemara, okay, I understand with the wake that we could be machalik in Meisai, Gash, we still have a stira between the Mishnah and the Brayso, whether one tears over anger, whether there's a chiyuv or not. Says the Gemara again, Rav Yehuda, Rav Shimon. Famous Rav Yehuda, famous Mr. Shimon. Oh, Rav Yehuda, Malach Shem Tichli Gufa is chayiv alei. The Brayso. Harav Shimon the Mishnah says the Gemara, the classical kasha. The Sham say the Rav Yehuda. Once Rav Yehuda say you're chayvim attacking when you're fixing something. But if you're ruining something, of course, now Misham is lay. Amar Rav Avin, Anami attacking. Why? The Kavin Achazurach Liyaisrai. He satisfies his Yitzhahara by cooling off his anger. So that is a level of constructivity that, according to Rav Yehuda, would create a chiyuv. He says, but wait, if that's the case, then how could our Mishnah say it's motor? Or a Mishaber Kila Bechamasi, or Mavaz Moise Bechamasi. It's like one is worshipping, being Ovid Avodah Zarah. This is what the Yitzhahara does to us. He chaps us a little bit. And then tomorrow, do a little bit more. So Amar Rav Avin on the third very wide line, my Korah, what does the pasuk mean? This proves what we just said. So ask the Gemara, there should be no chiyuv in such a case. Answers the Gemara, you're doing it. You're breaking something to show the people in your household that you mean business. You're doing this in order to create a fear in your household. He ripped a piece of a garment. He broke broken vessels. Threw fish at a maidservant. He broke the lid of a pitcher. Of course, we remind ourselves that we can't just learn from here that it's mutter to break these things. These are complicated conversations. But at least we see a case in which there could be an element of constructivity, even to the destructive nature in that which he is doing. Amar Rav Shimon, Bazim Rav Shimon Levi, Shambar Kapara. We end with the Gemara teaching us, so what Lamaisa is the proper way of being misavel on an Adam Kasher. Klamar Damaris Adam Kasher. Hakadosh Baruch Hu Sefer Nichve Iskanaz. Hashem takes those tears. The one cries. Al base on Adam Kasha puts it in his story. The tears are waiting there in front of Hakadosh Baruch Hu. We're going to stop over here. We'll continue with Yehuda Merav, in which he's going to discuss the way to properly mourn a Chacham b'siyata dishmaya.